Hi, and welcome to the Distinguished Twins podcast. I'm Kane.
I'm Professor Anderson.
And we have a special guest today. We are going to actually do our first video call interview with our special guest. She is all the way on the East Coast. So we're going to bring her on in a few minutes here. We just wanted to open up, and it was a topic I wanted to discuss. The point of this topic is to trust your experience and your intuition. Right?
Yeah.
A quick story. It was maybe a couple months ago. I was hiking, and I was running up the mountain. You know, I'm getting it. I'm just running, trying to, really exhaust myself. And as I'm running, I look up and I see a man and a woman, and I kind of stop because I don't want to invade. I don't know what's going on. And I see them sitting there, and the woman is, once I noticed she was sitting down, when I got closer, she looked like she was about to pass out.
Right.
And the man was, he was trying to, comfort her, but you can see he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so as I got closer, I started sprinting over there.
Oh, wow.
I'm going up the mountain. I'm like, hey, okay, she looked like she was about to pass out. Okay, she's just overheated.
Right.
She's probably dehydrated, low on carbs. So I was like, here, let's take her socks off. Let's take her shoes off, bring her body temperature down. I had water at the time. They didn't have water. I don't know why.
My God.
That was our first time hiking.
Yeah. You might want to read up on it before you hop on that mountain.
Yeah. So that, I had a bottle of water. So I gave them my water, and I poured a little bit of water on her feet, her hands. Try to bring her body temperature down. You started to see that she started to calm a little bit more.
Okay.
But as we were sitting there, probably about 5 more hikers showed up, and they were like, everybody was just willing to help.
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, she's just overheated or whatever. But one of the women, she used to be an ER doctor.
Oh, wow.
And so she was like, no. She's like, lay her back, do this, do that, whatever. Since she was a doctor previously, she tried to get too deep on the topic.
Exactly.
And I said that to say this. We were personal trainers for years.
Yeah.
Professional athletes for years, working with athletes.
Yeah.
That is a very common thing
Oh,
that you
my
see.
gosh. All the time.
I remember with you.
Yes.
As soon as that happened with you, I knew because I had been through it.
Yeah.
My experience.
Yes.
So I took your shoes off, poured water on you, brought your body temperature down because I was like, you were panicking.
Yeah,
you didn't know because you honestly feel like you might die.
Literally.
You lose any control of, your consciousness or, so she's tried to get too deep on it. And I was looking at the things that she was doing. And as we were sitting here, I was like, she needs some sugar.
Oh, okay.
She needs some, those carbs. She need that sugar right now. It'll bring her back. And so somebody pulled out like some type of bar.
Like a Cliff Bar or something?
Yeah, something like that. And it has sugar. And so she put it in her mouth. She started eating, and you saw her start to regain. And then after a while, she was sitting there, but she was back.
Right.
But you can see she was just embarrassed.
There
she was
you
like,
go.
oh my gosh.
Right.
And I was telling her because her and she was with her uncle, and it was his niece. They started at the top, and they were coming down. They're going to go back up.
Right.
Typically, we start at the bottom, we go up, and then come back down.
Exactly.
Because it was on South Mountain, where you can drive up, and then they parked or whatever. Yeah, so they were coming down, and I was like, I'll carry you up there, if you need. And so started to help her along up the mountain, and you could see, the further she got away from everybody, she was just like, whew, yeah.
Right.
And so I started to speak more about my experience on it, and I was kind of telling her what she was feeling. She was like, that's exactly what I said to you, her uncle.
Bottom line.
And so when I was sitting there, I was thinking, I'm like, I know I'm not a doctor.
Right.
But I got a lot of experience.
Come on now.
With
physical training, people overheating, exhaustion, whatever that it may be. So, like you say, your instincts kicked in. You've seen that before. And again, it happened with me in the gym.
Yes.
And it was like, in that moment, I had never experienced it like that. And then he brought me back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's, but unfortunately, of course, she was concerned too.
Absolutely.
And she felt like she was helping as well. However, sometimes even though you have a lot of training and experience, you still want to listen to people.
Yes.
Even as a college professor, I love listening to my students, right? I'm learning from them just as much as they're learning from me. So it's like if I'm speaking on a topic and somebody raises their hand, I want to hear what you have to say, and so you can always learn. You can always be a student. We'll always and forever be students until we leave this earth because we'll never know it all. So,
Exactly.
But in that situation, like you said, man,
Yeah.
you never told me about that, man. What's up? I don't like that. Just like the old man who fell and I guess hit his head or something, and
Yeah.
you told me about that later. Like, what's up, man? Like,
Oh.
what's up with this dude? Like, you're
I don't
supposed
know.
to tell me everything.
I don't know. I don't like to, once it's all said and done, I don't like to give too much energy to it anymore because it's like in the moment I'm like, I expend so much energy. I'm like, let me recover. I don't want to keep.
Just like our father.
Yeah.
My daddy, he same way. It's like you won't find out about something till a week or two, maybe a year later. Who knows?
But even with the discussion I was having this week, and I know I made a video about it. It's a guy when I was speaking about lower income people. Everyone as a human, you need to have the ability to enjoy yourself.
Come on now.
And if you work for your money, then you should be able to spend some of your money on what you enjoy.
Come on now.
Period, because it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
Tons of research to support the retail therapy. Now this guy, he didn't come from lower income.
And here's my thing about that. In sociology, there's a term, it's a German term called Verstehen. And what it means is that in order to understand the experience of a population of people, you don't have to be born into it.
Oh, thank you.
What you have to be willing to do, though, is insert yourself into that environment, not to dictate,
Thank you.
to learn, and to experience.
Yes.
That is the only way. Because there's a certain type of research that you could perform in sociology called participant observation.
Okay.
Right? And so, or it's an ethnography, right? And so if you go into this environment, you're amongst the people, you're experiencing their ways of living, everything. Only then can you truly understand, like, wow, this is what it's really like. And so there was a famous study about a guy who did that. He, just for research purposes, he joined the police department in Philadelphia, and he was on the beat for like 2 years.
Okay.
So he had an opportunity to experience how it was. So, but again, in this situation, I witnessed that conversation, and it's unfortunate because this man, you can sense when someone read books.
Thank you. Or listen to somebody.
And say, and now all of a sudden they are the expert.
Thank you.
However, again, you cannot, which is why many major corporations are highly unsuccessful in their community-oriented service projects, what have you, because they come in dictating as opposed to listening to the people and understanding what they need. Again, just because you're lower income doesn't mean that you can't enjoy
Thank you.
your life.
Thank you.
Doesn't mean that you have to spend your entire life trying to work to get out of that situation. Every single waking moment. No, you can still have some moments where you enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And even if you don't desire to get yourself out of that,
Exactly.
if you're not willing to commit yourself to get yourself out of that, if you like it, I love it, man. Enjoy your life.
Thank you.
And so it was an unfortunate situation, but the ignorance, and again, it's just the lacking of knowledge.
Yeah.
Some people are so comfortable in it, and they want to, again, speak down to people.
Yes.
Take more of a bureaucratic approach as opposed to a grassroots approach.
Yes.
That bottom up, what I
Yes,
mean?
exactly.
Getting with people, you know what I mean? And, being able to organize and get people together and teach them about something if they want to learn about it. So, but again, it was an unfortunate ending, for him because he made himself look like a fool.
He did. And, he obviously, went away but he, even with his pride and ego, he couldn't admit, you're out of bounds.
You're out of bounds.
When you enter a discussion, you need to enter to listen.
Yes,
Okay?
that's it.
You're not teaching me anything.
At all.
You can't tell me how it is in a lower income community. You've never lived there.
You've never lived
And
there.
you've never inserted yourself either. So the cliche, just work hard and you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
Please, just save it. There's tons of research to support the stance that is just not true.
Come on now.
But-
Everybody does not have an equal opportunity
Thank you.
in this society. In this world, it does not matter. So,
And then we can, like I said,
again, that's
if you want to challenge that, start reading and then bring your facts.
supported by empirical data. But yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And with that being said, we are going to bring on our special guest.
Yeah.
And give me a minute, and we're going to bring her up on a video call.
Yes.
Right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Aisha Washington. She is an author. Like I stated before, she's on the East Coast. Aisha, what state are you in?
I live in the state of Virginia.
Virginia. All right. So Aisha's in the state of Virginia. Aisha, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and kind of just speak a little bit about when you reached out to me, what you wanted to speak about, and then we'll go back to kind of like your origins. All right?
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead.
So my name is Aisha Washington, and I'm a mental health professional by day. I'm a writer by night.
Okay.
I do ghostwriting also, but I ran across Kane and Vincent's page as I was looking for just sites about twins and twin flames. Really, I was looking for more spiritual sites, but I ran across the page and I saw distinguished twins, and then I looked through it and I was like, oh, they look cool, and I saw their work, and I decided to reach out to see if they were interested in having me on as a guest to talk about a different type of twin, a twin flame, which is more of a spiritual bond, but not twins from birth.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's perfect, because I was trying to describe it to my brother and I just completely missed the mark. So
Yeah. I've heard of that twin flame stuff, though. Yeah.
Right. But okay, so Aisha, you said you are a mental health professional by day.
Yes.
So how did you get into that?
So when I went to undergrad in 2005, I actually started doing mass communications, and then I decided to change my major at the end of my freshman year to psychology. I can't recall exactly what made me change it, but I know that I was kind of bored with mass communications, and I wanted to do something that would be more along the lines of the helping field. And I decided not to do like social work because I wanted to specifically try to figure out the human brain.
Okay.
I
I like that.
Mhm.
Okay. And so you said you were in psychology. So what exactly do you do in the mental health field?
So currently I am a foster care social worker,
Okay.
but I've done a lot of things with just helping people with mental health issues in general. I've done counseling. I've worked for private agencies doing mental health support, skill building. But currently I'm doing foster care, and I've been doing foster care for now about 8 years.
Okay. Awesome.
That's a rough industry at times. I mean, I can only imagine the horror stories that you've experienced.
Yes, I could definitely write a book about some of the stories that I have. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
Man, the truth is stranger than fiction.
Certainly is, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's funny you say that because I say that all the time.
Yeah. Good. See, we on the same page. This is good.
Like minds. Yes,
Like
sir.
mine. There you go.
Uh-huh.
And when did you discover that you had this ability to write?
So I've been writing for a very long time. I would say I started somewhere around middle school. And it was just as an outlet for fun, poems and short stories. And I recently, a couple years ago, got back into it, and I just started just writing for fun. And then I started writing more spiritual stuff. I've read some books that I really liked that resonated with me. And I decided that I would write about a spiritual experience that I had personally. And so then after I wrote it, I had several people review it, and they're like, oh, man, this is really, really good. And so then I thought out getting it published.
Awesome. So what's the name of the book?
So the book is called Urban Garden, A Twin Flame Story.
Okay.
And it can be found on Amazon Kindle. It's paperback and an ebook.
Okay.
I'm currently working with ACX to try to get it to be an audiobook because I found a lot of people who want to hear good stories, but they don't necessarily like to read.
Exactly.
But right now it is ebook and paperback on Amazon Kindle.
Wow.
That is awesome, and thank you for holding it up to the camera too.
Oh yeah,
and we will get a copy of that as well. And we
definitely
just kind of been jumping through hoops the past couple of weeks, so
I know, right?
Appreciate your patience with that. I know I was supposed to get back to you right away, but like I said, I appreciate you reaching out to me again. I like your ambition and your just willingness to put yourself out there. I really respect that. Mm-hmm. So is this is the first book you've written?
This is the first book that I have published, and I apologize. It sounds like one of my neighbors is cranking up their moped or something of the sort.
That's okay.
So hopefully you can still hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
But so this is my first book that I've had published, but I have several manuscripts that I've not published that I'm still trying to figure out what are the best ones that I would like to publish, or what additions might need to be added to those before they're ready for publishing.
Oh, that's awesome. So
yeah.
Ideally, I know you're in social work, and you obviously have to have a heart and a passion for that to continue to deal with that mentally. Ideally, today, if you could do anything, what is your ideal situation as far as, if you want to write or if you want to stay in social work, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I want to do both. I have a passion for both. I wouldn't want to stop working in the mental health field because I feel like that's what God has placed me to do. I really enjoy working with people and helping families. So that's something I definitely don't want to stop doing. But aside from that, my passion, I enjoy writing. So preferably I will just continue to do both.
Okay. And as far as your writing style, what do you prefer? Is it fictional, or can you write like autobiographies or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I for myself, I write a range of things, and I write for other people as well through ghostwriting. So whatever they want me to write. I had someone recently ask me to put together a sales script. So I helped them put together a sales script. I've had somebody ask me to do a screenplay, so I put together a screenplay. So I do various different things.
Okay. Wow. It's funny because you're obviously an exceptional writer, especially to follow your path and get published. I always speak to my brother, and I always tell him, we've had some success with our physical prowess. And, and when I look at creative minds and artists, whether you write, you sing, you dance, I almost get jealous because I feel like I would trade my physical talent for that creative, artistic talent.
Absolutely. It seems like something that you can continue to develop, until you leave this earth.
Yeah.
As opposed to the physical. You're gonna hit that wall one day.
Short-lived.
Yes.
Yeah.
So definitely. I share in that envy.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know what creativity I have, but I do have a heart for helping people as well. So I certainly can admire that aspect of your personality as well.
Yes. And
thank you,
Aisha. I think you stated to me, you're a parent?
I am a parent.
Okay.
I have two daughters.
Okay.
One is 6 and one is 2.
Oh, okay, cool. And so, in being in the social work, the mental health field, the things that you see, does that make you take a different approach with your daughters, in raising them?
I like that.
Yes, absolutely. I actually was talking to someone last night about that. Very different approach because I see a lot of things, and I deal with a lot of trauma, especially dealing with children. They come into the custody of the department when there's a concern around their safety and well-being. So sometimes that's physical neglect, sometimes that's sexual abuse, sometimes it's of various different things. And I'm exposed to a lot of different circumstances that children go through. I would never allow my kids to stay the night at anyone's house for that reason. If my daughter wants to have a sleepover, when I say my daughter, I mean my oldest, because I have a ways to go, 2-year-old.
Yes.
They would have to stay the night at my house.
Bottom line.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because I just, I believe that deep down most people are good, but I feel like, some people are damaged, and sometimes that damage, there's a domino effect, and they end up hurting other people.
Exactly.
And so I'm not going to risk my children getting hurt physically, emotionally, sexually, or any type of form by someone else. So I'm very protective of them.
I love that.
Yeah. That's how our mother was when we were growing up. We naturally, being boys, we wanted to do the Boy Scouts because we just wanted the pocket knife, and so, we were willing to go through all the training we thought we were. But like even with like camping trips and stuff like that, like my mom was like, "That's an absolute no-go. Like we were not allowed to go." I mean, we did a couple sleepovers with our buddies, but my mom was deeply involved into it. So I mean, I'm extremely appreciative and grateful for just her concern as a mother, and of course you're witnessing a lot of this stuff and seeing it firsthand. Like, okay, you have very good reason not to trust others around your daughter. So, I mean, that's just the world that we live in. And honestly, I think it's a prudent decision.
Absolutely.
Truthfully. Because,
as parents, we have to be vigilant, and we have to be concerned about our children's well-being. And that, I mean, you have to think about every possible scenario that could happen and try to prevent anything that could be damaging.
Exactly. And the good thing is because you're going to probably, witness a little bit of just slight pushback from, the children, because of course they want to hang out with their friends and they want to have a good time. But when they get older, they're going to thank you, because my oldest is soon to be 16 in about a month.
Yes.
And I can only recall her staying the night where like I knew the dad like personally, you know what I mean? And it's like, and she had to be old enough to be able to tell me what's going on, right? And so I'm checking in. Even if I know him, I still, let me know what's going on, so on and so forth. I need to know how the night went, right? And so, but my daughter, she thanks me and her mom all the time just for, always looking after her, right? And protecting her. So they're not going to like it at first, but they'll love you later for it.
Yeah, there's method to the madness.
Oh, yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
I know I'll be bouncing around a little bit here, but your book, can you give me a little more details on what it entails and, why would I want to read it,
Give us that synopsis.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I would say that I would encourage everyone to, if not read this book, which of course I would like for you to read my book.
Yes.
Not just to support me, but I wrote it because I felt like it was good information in it. I wrote it for the people who are on their spiritual path and they, feel enlightened or they want to learn more. So it doesn't just talk about twin flames. It also talks about soulmates. It talks about karmic connections.
Wow.
And in general, it just talks about your overall spiritual well-being. So it's a really good read. And it also, some of that stuff might sound boring. It's actually a really good read, and it's a storyline, and it's a true story. It's my story with my twin flame. A lot of people don't know what twin flames are. A lot of people understand and know the concept of soulmates or feel they understand the concept. But basically, what a twin flame is. So let's say you take a quilted blanket, and on that quilted blanket, of course, there's a whole bunch of squares. So all of those squares are your soul family, and they can come in the form of family. They can come in the form of friends. There are people who are part of your same energy, and it really takes for you to be pretty enlightened and in tune with yourself to be able to recognize those connections. So a twin flame is literally if you take one of those squares from the quilted blanket and you cut it in half, there's a masculine and there's a feminine. And that twin flame is literally your same energy, your same soul in two bodies.
Wow.
So I know it's a very foreign concept, but this is something that is happening to a lot of people. There's a lot of articles about it. There's a lot of blogs about it, and there's a lot of books. But I've not come across a book until mine which is another reason why it makes it a good read, that actually details a personal experience about a twin flame journey.
Oh wow, I love that.
I know, right?
And let's just say it's not boring at all.
Right.
I think my brother and I, we've taken interest in the metaphysical and spiritual within the past few years ourselves. So and I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of those energies, and, around you with the universe and these things and chakras and all of that. So I think you're right on course with where we are in society today, and I think that can be very enlightening.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it can do very well, especially in this time, because I believe that we're in the age of information, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's factual, but what I believe is that a lot of people are, the more information that they gain, they're tapping more into the spiritual realm, and religion does its own thing, but I've seen a lot more and witnessed a lot more people being interested in the spiritual, as that's something that's actually more
free.
It's free, right? It's liberating,
It's
right?
not a construct.
Right. And so you witness a lot of people, and I know tons of people now, much more than I've ever known, who are just so interested in it, and they're reading and they're doing birth charts and looking at the zodiacs, right? And so the sun and the moon, and it's so much deeper than just your sun sign, right? And so again, I think that with that twin flame, because I actually read a little bit about that probably about a few months ago, with that twin flame, it is absolutely incredible. It's remarkable. Yeah. And so when I read about it, I just sat back and I thought, like, man, I want to read a little bit more into it. So I'm very intrigued and interested to read this book, extremely, because I want to hear about this personal experience. I mean, I think it's always good to see what people have gone through.
Absolutely. And so, and the book itself, what's the cost of the book?
So for the ebook, it's $17, and for the paperback, it's $21.
Okay.
Very, very, very doable.
Yes.
But it's definitely worth it. People who have purchased it and read it, they're just like, wow, I feel like I've learned so much from the book.
Yes.
Because you'll find a lot of websites and a lot of blogs that have information about different stages, with soulmates, different stages with twin flames, how to recognize a karmic connection and that type of thing. But it goes into detail about each of those things, but also from a personal perspective of how to recognize it, and really just like how I came across the concept in general. Because at one point in time, it was also foreign to me. I wasn't born knowing that there's a such thing as a twin flame or a soulmate or anything like that. Yes. It wasn't until I had an experience and I'm like, what is this? And I started to do research.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I think it's brave of you to step up and use your own story as well.
Yeah.
That's very brave.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Because, a lot of people, we sit back on social media and we we're so nosy. We watch other people's, drama.
Yes.
If they get their heart broken, we kind of, try to see, how they feel about it. Or whenever Adele broke up with her significant other, now we're excited she's going to have, release new music because we want to feel and kind of feel like somebody's went through what we've gone through.
Right.
And so I think that's very good of you to, share your story.
That's
like
relatable,
that.
Yeah.
Very relatable. I think people will be able to, connect with that.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. And it's not easy writing from a personal perspective. It leaves you very vulnerable. But I did feel like it was something that would be worth other people knowing, because even now, like I have some blogs that I reply to, various different blogs around twin flames, and people who are going through the earlier stages that I went through, and they have a lot of questions. And so I go on there and I'm replying to the questions, trying to help with providing some form of support in a way. And if you read the book, you'll understand what I mean. Why would support be needed? Well, you'll see. Yeah. And because you'll see.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
But it does leave you very vulnerable. Currently, I'm working with two authors right now who are writing their own stories, and it's not related to anything spiritual, just their own stories, and the process is it can be difficult because you're wanting to include certain things, you're wanting to leave out certain things, you don't know what you should share. If people are going to look at you like, oh, you did that.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you can't focus on what people are going to think. You just share the information and just go from there.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's heavy.
Because a lot of times we're so scared and we're like, oh, they're going to think this.
Yeah, exactly.
And most of the time, people don't even care.
Right.
Once they see or hear about it, they're like, oh, okay. And then they're on to someone else's business. So,
right.
Yeah, Anywho, so what I wanted to ask, and like I said, I was going to bounce around, this is, as far as the social work, I was curious about this, and I always respect people that go into that field because it is completely altruistic, of a lot of people when you go into it. And so I was wondering, do you get attached to any of these families or kids? How does that work for you? Because for that reason, I couldn't do it. I'm an empath.
Exactly.
So I couldn't do it. But go ahead.
Yes. Oh man, that's a good question. Being human and, having feelings, they tell us to not get attached to the kids. They tell us to not get attached to the families. But when you're doing foster care, some of these cases, you have them for sometimes just 6 months. Sometimes you have them for 3 years. I have some cases I've had for about 4 years.
Wow.
And so you're wanting to help the family. You're wanting to try to reunify the children with their family, the birth parents, or any other relative. And so, you're helping these people and you're invested in them.
Yes.
So when you're investing time and you're investing energy in something, naturally you build a bond. You're not supposed to because, you're not supposed to. They tell us not to, but yes, not in all cases. Most of the time I am able to separate it, but there have been some cases where, it really resonated with me. And even, after the kids have gone home, I'm still in touch with the families just to see how they're doing, trying to connect them to any additional supports if they need it.
Wow.
Because, sometimes you do build connections.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. With your experience in the social work field, because I think that many individuals who are in that field, if they could revamp the system, they would. What do you think the greatest need is within the social work system? And you're dealing with foster care, so what do you think that the greatest need is to improve the system and the chances for the families and the children?
So the state of Virginia, I can't speak on other states, but I think all around the United States in general, they're getting better with recognizing what can bring families together and how to get more children back with their families versus adoption. Because for many years, it was a lot of situations where kids were just lingering in group home and residential facilities. And even foster homes didn't really want to keep them in the homes because there were behaviors that they couldn't understand or didn't want to deal with. So now we have a more trauma responsive approach to everything.
Okay.
And that trying to get foster parents to understand how to care for these children who have been through a lot of trauma, trying to keep them in those homes until we can get them with family, because we have what's called a step-down system. So you're not going to place a child that's in a residential facility right back home. They're not learning the skills they need to learn in a residential facility. That's more or less a very intensive, very therapeutic environment. You want to step them down from residential to group home to a foster home and then home. Sometimes you can skip group home. It just depends. So I would say that the state is doing much better. If there's anything that I would say should change, it would probably be more support for families to keep the kids in the home in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we do have preventive services such as family preservation. There's CPS ongoing. But a lot of times, one of the main issues is generational poverty. And people are finding themselves to a point where they're homeless. A lot of their parenting approaches has a lot to do with their own traumas from how they were raised and the fact that they're living in a impoverished situation. So I wish that we could take families who especially families who really want to do better, and place them in a different environment, the whole family, and put supports in place that way. Because right now we put supports in place where they are. So if it's in the project or whatever, wherever it is, we put supports in place, but it doesn't change the environment. They're still in that environment. So when you leave and you have to eventually leave the home, they're still surrounded by substance abusers. And, people go to that when they're stressed. They're surrounded by other things that keep them in that same situation. So I would say, if we can go in and take some of these families who really, really want to do well, they want to work, they just need the help, they want to have a stable home, and move them somewhere where they can do that with the supports in place, that would be best.
I like that. I like that. It's, I earned my master's in sociology, and so I worked through my program with many individuals who were going into social work. And I actually had a project in one of my courses where it focused a lot on that preventative, as far as a lot of steps and resources that could be implemented to keep the children within the home, as opposed to removing them. Because once they get into the system, it takes a lot of time to get them back with family. And so I remember working on that project, and just as you stated, with the generational poverty, that was always one of the biggest issues. And so, of course, many people would say it's not really doable as far as taking the whole family and moving them. However, I do believe that, your idea and your approach, it's probably the best approach in my opinion as well, because many people don't consider the fact that the social conditions are going to influence their behavior 9 times out of 10. And so, but again, a lot of people want to medicalize, what's going on, and they'll say, well, these people are just crazy. They just have, these mental issues, and that's just what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. But never understanding that if you remove these people from this environment, would there be a different outcome? Exactly. And so I think that, again, if we have $2 trillion to invest into our military, we have more than enough money to try to help families get into better locations or environments or what have you. So, I like that. And that's a great idea, actually.
Yes, it is. I have, as time passes, I have more faith, because every system is now under a microscope.
Yes.
Everyone is more visible. So this willful ignorance, you'll be called on it, right? So now when we see these things, and Aisha, you bring something like this idea, now we're aware. We're like, man, that's a great idea.
Right.
When you bring these things to other people with hearts that can be in positions and powers, where they can influence, then I think we can start to implement and, construct programs that can actually, be feasible enough to remove these families from these environments and do these things. Because at the end of the day, we can, lean on government. Everything is going to take the communities.
Yeah, it's going to take the
And
people.
the more educated we become as communities, we'll be able to band together and, essentially
help our own.
Help our own, exactly. Yeah. And, just take care of our environments too. You know what I mean? Like, we need to realize the damage that we can do personally, to an environment. Like you say, if you're going to be influenced, don't go around these kids and smoke and drink in front of them, because now they think that, oh, this is what I should do, right?
It's normalcy, right?
And normalcy, exactly. So, but cool. Aisha, was there anything else you wanted to share with us?
No, I thank you, Kane and Vincent, so much for having me.
Yes.
It was definitely a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Man, and let me just say, you are 100% awesome. I swear, you
are.
Your energy, just your grace, your presence. It's fantastic, and I really appreciate you reaching out. And with your knowledge, in the future, we will probably circle back, and I would love to have you as a guest again.
Yeah, and I mean, and also just in regards to possibly doing some writing, I mean, I like to write as well.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, finishing up my dissertation, that's a lot of writing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But certainly I've always been interested in one day possibly, Distinguished Twins, maybe we can have an autobiography.
Hey, absolutely.
We have an interesting story, man, right? And,
yeah. Oh, yeah, we
which is why I'm like, is that what you do? Because, I mean, of course, you have an intelligent woman such as yourself, I would love to, patronize your business.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So
no,
I would love to.
yes,
yes,
and we don't talk just to talk either. So
I know.
Obviously we have your contact information, and obviously we know one another on social media now as well. So we'll be in contact. And once again, thank you for being a guest on our show. You really made us look good today.
I know,
so
right?
Thank you.
Exactly.
And with that being said,
yes,
we are going to call it right now.
yes.
We want to wave to everybody. Give us a wave, Aisha. There you go. Thank you. And thank you for watching, everybody. And we will see you next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.